So I'm the founder of a company called Neurodelics. We are a digital therapeutic platform that is focused on harnessing and protecting suggestibility and neuroplasticity with psychedelics. And it's neurodiversity informed. So that means that 20% of humanity is neurodivergent. So these are individuals that structurally would check the boxes for ADHD and autism, but also for other comorbid neurological social phenomenology. Many people coming to take psychedelics are neurodivergent, do not understand that. So we have created a protocol and platform that supports individuals as well as their facilitators to empower neurodivergent people in particular to better to understand their neurotype, their glows and grows profile, and to have the proper risk profile for doing a macrodose journey for their launch pad and landing pad, in particular in harnessing that neuroplasticity.
Hi everyone, welcome to Psychedelic Conversations. Today I have Colette in the house. Did I say your name correctly?
Yes, my name is Colette Condorcita. Sí. Yes.
I'm going to try Condorcita.
Yes.
Thank you so much for being with us. It's such a pleasure to have you.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm really excited to be here with you all today and be here at PS 2025.
Of course, yes, our pleasure. So you are the founder of the Neurodelics. And so before we get into that, can we get to know you a little bit? Maybe
Sure.
Start with what brings you to this work.
Well, my work with psychedelics and psychedelic states of consciousness has, I think, really been my whole life. But really, primarily, when I was a lunatic, ADHD, athlete kid from a family that was so loving and caring, but also we had a lot of complex trauma in my family, like I think many who are brought to this work. When I was 14 years old, I was a competitive wrestler in high school, and it was just kind of the next expression of my athleticism. And I had a precognitive dream that I would have a spinal cord injury, and I actually, 2 weeks later, I had a very serious spinal cord injury where I broke my neck. I was completely paralyzed, competing. Had an out-of-body experience that was the same as my dream, and it led to a really incredibly difficult and truly miraculous recovery process. I had a 0% chance of recovery and was in a halo, completely paralyzed from the neck down. And my parents never actually told me that. They never told me that 0% chance. And when I was on a ventilator with a halo and really just honestly begging my father to let me pass, he looked me in the eyes. My father sometimes gets these, it's not only just psychic, but it's also, something that I've really done a lot of work on is this concept of suggestibility and expectation in and around healing spaces and shamanism in and of itself in consciousness. And he looked me in the eyes and said, I know you're gonna be walking, if not running, within a year. And my father's not somebody who likes to BS. So regardless of anything else, I really believed him. And it continued to, it really unfolded in a very powerful, completely integrative process of Western medicine and accessibility that was crucial for my, recovery, having a, spinal fusion, ventilator, et cetera, all these amazing things about modern medicine, as well as going into deep states of self-hypnosis, my ancestors coming to me, doing work on me, and my neurological phenomenology shifted. So, Dr. Michael Winkelman is here, which is one of the most tremendous, it's amazing to see him out of the jungle. I didn't even think he left the jungle anymore. But his work with shamanic neurophenomenology and culture, I highly recommend everyone watching. But it's led to 25 plus years of studying altered states. My background's in regenerative agriculture and activism. Started taking psychedelics when I was 17 years old as a way to really understand my neurological reality that was shifted and is innately shamanic. Hashtag I'm not a shaman, but I do speak a lot and do a lot of research on shamanic neurotype, which is one of my research points. So it led to many, many years of working as a psychedelic facilitator, lots of work and studying collaboration primarily with Yahe cultures in Colombia and Putumayo. But I've been involved in pretty much every aspect of psychedelic ecosystem, from running the Decriminalized Nature campaign in Philadelphia for 4 years, being a facilitator, consultant, educator, and now this current expression of the digital therapeutic product that I'm developing that's called Neurodelics.
Wow.
That was a lot.
It's also very moving, very moving.
Yes, it is. And it's something that I was thinking about today because I was in a private dinner last night with Bruce Damer and Manish Gurn and Senator Mind, and there's been so much struggle for me personally in my life, and really channeling that struggle into and I think that's so much of a healer's journey, of like using the struggle to support systems around you, and finding your path, inshallah, in life, and being in this community, and having spaciousness for so many of us who have these tendrils of perhaps things that are related to what I just shared, has just been probably the biggest blessing in my life, aside from my family.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing. My favorite place in the psychedelic conference is exhibition center, exhibition hall. I feel like that's where the gold is. I've noticed that everybody that is presenting something, bringing an idea, like yourself, this whole neurodelic approach, and everyone that's just tirelessly, in their own sections, just kind of talking, everyone that's approaching to them tirelessly. I think they're the real shamans of this world. And I feel like this is what psychedelic work is for me. Finally, I'm getting it. Shaman, growing up, coming from my background, we had a lot of negativity, or like a woo-woo, it's out there. It's not something that can be grounded here. It's just an alternative, another hippie type of living that doesn't have no weight, substance, but it's just and it's also for some kind of people, like a certain people. Now, years of coming into this space and understanding, shaman doesn't have to dress in the feathers and the gowns and they don't need to look very different. I think it's like one of my community, one of the girls, she said, did you know the real shamans of this world are the surgeons who can cut people up?
100%.
They don't look like shamans because we have this association of the shaman and the, people in this alternative but actually original place of the medicine. And that has really shifted in my own journey. That never underestimate the person walking past who may just look normal in their normal daily clothing and talking and doing their thing. There's such a gold and wisdom behind each one of us. Now you saying that made me think again, okay, this is why I connected with you. So validating. Thank you so much.
Appreciate you. Thank you.
So my next question is, so how do we bridge this mental, this psychic association of this is for people from a certain place, and we need science, and we need clean-cut, sterile, linear processes. And then there you are sitting in front of me, coming from a very existential place.
Sometimes, yeah.
Right? It's like something has happened. Now we have this moment of defining moment. Where do you go from here? And experiences that are confrontational to our existence, usually I know that it deeply drops people into the existential inquiry, let's say. So I don't know if you can say any few words on that. Like, I really want to bridge this gap. Like, it's not different. It's not one or the other. People are people.
Yeah, I really resonate with that. And I think that it's been a massive frustration for me, because, my family, fortunately, my parents were the first in my ancestry, all my grandparents were immigrants. They were the first in their families to go to college, self-funded. My dad he was a Vietnam veteran. He went on the GI Bill. And him and my mom had been married almost 60 years, really collaborating and improving their lifestyle, improving their lives, really relentlessly education, and focused on, educating me and my sister, who grew up in Philadelphia, which is a really poor school system. And any extra money went into sending us to a very social justice oriented, as well as really impactful frameworks for really understanding how to do deep analytical, critical thinking, balanced frameworks, real analysis. I think that for me, it's a really important, we are in a very critical moment, not only in the psychedelic movement, but for all of humanity, let alone in this country. And I really do think that for those of us who have innately transpersonal ways of thinking, which I certainly identify as having a shamanic neurotype, I don't identify as being a shaman. And I was just explaining this to Bruce Damer, and we were having a kind of a chat, but around just as an honor for indigenous people, which I've 20 years working with indigenous people around the world and their struggle and their communities and everything that they really fight for, to not identify specifically as a shaman. Maybe there's some moment in time where that will shift. But they're, in indigenous communities who work with plant technologies, it's not just about, oh, I drank medicine and I had a vision and that's real and that's it and we're going to do it. Really, it's about drinking medicine. Okay, now we're going to speak to the elders. Okay, now we're going to do dieta. Okay, now we're going to spend time in nature. Okay, now we're going to think about, and that's almost like the indigenous ways of thinking about the indigenous knowledge systems of critical thinking. And I think that so many folks from the global north are called to these technologies that are, still in the, and not just, in the technologies of actually taking entheogenic sacraments, et cetera, psychedelics, but accessing transpersonal states of consciousness. I kind of describe that the way that my brain works is innately psychedelic. And I've used psychedelics as a way to better understand my own consciousness, So there's kind of these layers to things. And I think that when we can kind of use a grounded basis of critical thinking, of analysis, of research, because shamanism has a deep scientific method at play. And for me to see so many of also too leaders and people who have tremendous political and financial power in the psychedelic movement to be throwing all that out, to be sharing content that I think is incredibly harmful and dangerous, that is not based on anything that they can show lineage to, is really inconsiderate of creating safety and balance. And to everything that you're speaking to, and for sure that I'm speaking to, of being in this very critical moment of needing to really be supporting those mechanisms of how we can grow together with these paradigmatic structures moving along together for humanity, for all, not just humanity, but for all of consciousness in nature, and supporting consciousness in nature in a balanced and in an integrated way.
Thank you. I'm hearing invitation to dissolving the psychic boundaries of indifference. I'm different. I'm from this background. I'm from this culture, this religion, this belief system. Or I'm, don't believe in anything. I'm on my own person. This individualistic, reinforced identity that's been growing, I think, for a long time. Isn't that interesting? The tides always turn, and now we're back to the ground zero, to relearn, to reconnect, to rebuild, and also dissolve these psychic limitations and indifferences.
I've spent a lot of time with ayahuasca communities in the Americas, and they've really, and I'm 41 years old. It's been many years, but I hear people speak a lot, and especially in sort of the commodification of these technologies and practices, but around, we have this mental health crisis, mental health crisis, psychedelics are the answer to the mental health crisis. I really do believe that it's community thinking. It's considering the community, considering the system that is actually the primary tool for healing the mental health crisis we're in. Because a hyper-individualistic, hyper-capitalistic, divisionary, classist, and quite honestly racist and sexist culture that seems to be only expanding in this past year, if not years, and not really. I had the pleasure to go to Australia last year to visit with colleagues there, in particular the work of Dr. Bianca Sebin, for those of you who are watching, is a dear friend and colleague of mine there, and visiting the Aboriginal communities there. But Australia, as a construct, of course, there's very deep divisions there between the colonial legacy there, as there is everywhere. But just how my nervous system feels in Australia, that relentlessly invests in so many ways, that as someone who grew up in Philadelphia, it's like, and you see it in every facet of society, and you notice how your nervous system feels, and that of everyone else. There's no guns there. I've witnessed murders. I've been on the street when people who have died from gun violence in Philadelphia. who were gunned down and took care of their children afterwards, in a healing space that I took care of for a decade. These things that will not exist there. Because years ago, they decided after a horrific massacre, we don't need this, we're not doing guns here, we're not doing this, and protecting our borders. So it's like, what are we really supporting with this work? The healing work is not just about the me, myself, and I. It is about the grid of nature and supporting that.
Thank you. I really deeply honor Australia. It's also the first country to legalize everything. Never been there, but I know they lead it.
I gotta go there, girl.
I need to. I have a lot of community members from Australia.
It's very interesting, very powerful place.
I appreciate you a lot for saying that.
Very powerful place. And you know what's so interesting? I lived there about 20 years ago when I was doing my training in regenerative ag after I got out of uni. And they had this day that and again, the Aussie translation, but they call it sorry day. Oh, sorry day, mate. Oh, sorry for those 100 years of colonization, eh? But it was like this powerful thing for Aboriginal people to actually say sorry for this horrific genocide that we've committed against your people. And Aboriginal people are they're the oldest cultures in the world, really, them and the Khoisan. And they have the same, it's just phenomenal to not go on and on about it. But they are so attuned to the psychic energy of that land. And they really actively share, not just because they're trying to boss people around, because the land there is incredibly powerful. And the psychic, connection of how that land is working in consciousness, from my perspective and many of other, is very powerful. So when they say, do not climb that mountain, it's for the benefit of the individual. And really just being there and I lived near a place called Mount Warning, and I'm forgetting the Aboriginal name of it. Please forgive me, those of you watching. But that's the white man's name. And and I was like, they're saying, and so it was like this sort of like reconciliation of really honoring indigenous ways there, Aboriginal ways. And they were like, don't climb this mountain. And I would see people, oh no, we're gonna go hiking. I was like, there is no way. And I had the privilege of being able to be with these abuelas who I say run, but they are psychically protecting Uluru, which is the most powerful center of Australia and the center of the dreaming. That is their way of communicating psychically. And the way that these grandmothers work, it's so interesting because they don't need psychedelics. They have their own medicines, but the way that they work through the dreaming, and it's interesting because they actually are quite critical, and if not concerned, they can always tell when people come to them who are doing plant medicine work and may have had certain energetic things that might have happened to them in that space that they are able to do clearing with, and it is very interesting how they work.
Very attuned.
So much respect for them, and the way that they live is completely outside of the frameworks of the West. So it's hard for people to be, oh, well, you should be living in how you should be doing. And it's like, no, we have our ways. But anyway, not to go on. I can go on and on about Australia, but it's a very powerful place.
Yeah.
Very powerful.
Well, makes sense. They legalized, like I said, they were the first country to legalize the therapeutic use of psychedelics, and which for me is unexpected, and also probably, rightly so, given the context that you have given to us.
Yeah, you know what? And you know what? Again, it's like people are rushing to legalize these things. Right? And I'm hearing these conversations from people like, oh, RFK loves psychedelics. They're dismantling the social, I just read this morning, they're dismantling, and I'm queer. My sister's queer. She's married to a trans man for 20 years, 3 children. Especially when we're looking at the neurodiversity paradigm, mental health. 70 to 75% of queer people are neurodivergent. But they just dismantled, the suicide prevention hotline for youth and for adults, for, queer people, for LGBTQ. It's like Australia has really done not a perfect job, but a tremendously better job of supporting the social system, the social network, the bottom line. If you are chronically impoverished and you have no one supporting you, and especially doing the work that I've done on the ground, and especially with Black community in Philadelphia and supporting Black community to do this work, being an ally for them, and an educational tool, it's a delicate thing if you don't have Maslow's order and you start taking psychedelics, and it can be very powerful, but we have to support individuals for not just basic needs, but feeling safe and supported, whatever their expression of their reality is. And building systems that do that, because that lifts everybody up.
Exactly. Well, thank you so much. So I know we're running out of time and we haven't even touched your neurodelics approach. Maybe you can sum it up for us in like simple sentences, so that I definitely need to have you back for a longer form.
I would love that. Thank you so much.
Please,
Appreciate the opportunity. You can tell I like to talk. Lot to say.
I love this. This is so valuable, very valuable and timely. Thank you.
So I'm the founder of a company called Neurodelics. We are a digital therapeutic platform that is focused on harnessing and protecting suggestibility and neuroplasticity with psychedelics. And it's neurodiversity informed. So that means that 20% of humanity is neurodivergent. So these are individuals that structurally would check the boxes for ADHD and autism, but also for other comorbid neurological social phenomenology like OCD, CTPSD. I identified having a shamanic neurotype. I've put that into this paradigmatic structure, but I'm continuing the research on that, et cetera. So this is under the neurodiversity lens of mental health. Many people coming to take psychedelics are neurodivergent, do not understand that. So we have created a protocol and platform that supports individuals as well as their facilitators to empower neurodivergent people in particular to better to understand their neurotype, their glows and grows profile, and to have the proper risk profile for doing a macrodose journey for their launch pad and landing pad, in particular in harnessing that neuroplasticity. Neuroplasticity is a car that you have to drive, and if you do not have the mechanisms for understanding how to choose your thoughts and your motivations for your ways of thinking, it can be incredibly, it can be not healthy to the point of being these abusive situations we see in the psychedelic space. So I'm very excited about the team we have built, talking to Bruce Damer, Dr. Manesh Gurns on our board, Dr. Melanie Pincus, Dr. Bianca Sebin. Very excited about what we're building. And I think it's really a baseline tool that is really needed in the psychedelic space to empower, support people, and to really keep them safe with their goals and their needs in mind, first and foremost. Not mine as a facilitator, not, like Taita, whoever, theirs. And that's really what's needed as a baseline.
Wow. Accelerated way of empowering individuals while keeping the community essence. That's what I'm hearing. Mm-hmm.
Yes, exactly.
Thank you so much. This has been wonderful.
Thank you so much.
So
it's been great to be here with you.
Yeah, thank you. Look forward to diving deeper into your work.
Thank you so much.
We will add everything, all the details and your link and website in the show notes for our listeners so they can check it out.
Super appreciate the opportunity. It's a pleasure.
Thank you so much. Thanks everyone for joining us. Hope you guys enjoyed this conversation. As always, comment below, don't be shy, and reach out to Colette in any case. Thank you so much. I'll see you on the next one. Bye for now.
Bye, you guys.